my name is Choi. I am an undergraduate research student from the Princess Margaret Cancer Center in Toronto, Canada, and I'm here today at the World Conference on Lung Cancer 2024 here in San Diego. My research looked at tobacco control and smoking cessation related content that's been presented across major oncology meetings. As we may know, smoking is a well-understood risk factor for cancer, and especially lung cancer. But despite knowing how important tobacco control and smoking cessation is in cancer care, we don't know how much it's emphasized within cancer research, especially within these oncology meetings. And so we conducted a scoping review to look at how much and what types of abstracts and educational content focused on tobacco control and smoking cessation were presented across 12 major oncology meetings. So this was a scoping review that we conducted. And so our first step was to identify potentially relevant tobacco control and smoking cessation related content. We did this by using key search terms related to tobacco control and smoking cessation, and we screened through abstract books and online proceeding across 12 different oncology meetings. We picked out 12 major oncology meetings based on their different themes. So we looked at the bigger medical oncology, radiation oncology, surgical oncology specific meetings. We also looked at the more general oncology meetings, as well as age group specific meetings in pediatric and geriatric oncology. And lastly, we looked at the disease site specific meetings, such as World Lung. And we looked from 2018 to 2023 across abstracts and educational sessions. We then screened the content using our inclusion and exclusion criteria, which mainly require the content to have a primary focus of tobacco control and smoking cessation in cancer. And after we screened the content, we extracted various data points, such as what type of abstract session they were, and we characterized this using descriptive statistics. So from 2018 to 2023, across the 12 major oncology meetings that we looked at, there were over 120,000 abstracts and about 26,000 educational sessions that were presented. And in terms of which ones met our inclusion criteria, around 421 abstracts met our inclusion criteria, while 119 education sessions met our inclusion criteria. Overall, we found that there were limited tobacco control and smoking cessation related content presented across all of the oncology meetings. There were limited across the medical oncology specific meetings, and even more limited across the radiation and surgical oncology meetings. When we look over at the age group specific meetings, we see that there is little to no tobacco related content that's been presented. However, across the general oncology meetings and the disease site specific meetings, they were relatively higher in terms of tobacco related abstracts and educational sessions presented. So more specifically, we saw that World Cancer Congress and World Lung had the highest mean percentage of tobacco related content relative to all of the other meetings. And this is likely because these two meetings have dedicated tobacco control tracks. When we look further into the types of abstracts, we found that there was quite an even distribution of the abstract focus and themes that were represented, such that there was a third that looked at the impact of smoking on cancer outcomes, as well as another third looked at smoking on cancer risk, and another third looked at smoking cessation. We also found that most of the abstracts looked at smoking on a specific disease site. So lung cancer as well as head and neck cancers were more commonly explored in terms of smoking and its impact on those cancers. We found that in addition, most of the research conducted were epidemiological and clinical studies. And we also found that most of the presentations were accepted as poster presentations. And last but not least, we looked at the geographic distributions of the abstract first authors to gauge where these abstracts were coming from. And we found that there was an uneven distribution globally, such that around 80% of the abstract authors came from high-income countries and 21% came from middle-income countries. So we see that there's a lack of distribution, especially among the middle-income and low-income countries. So in conclusion, we found that there were limited tobacco control and smoking cessation related content that were presented across major oncology meetings. They were relatively higher among the general and disease site specific meetings. And we also found that there were limited geographic distribution of the abstracts that were presented, such that there was a lack of representation from middle to low income countries. So given this, it may be important to develop and find strategies to incorporate more abstracts and especially educational sessions related to tobacco control and smoking cessation in cancer, as well as it may be important to develop newer strategies to help encourage more research in tobacco control and smoking cessation in oncology among the developing countries, because they can provide some important insight into tobacco control and oncology as well. And I was also awarded the Early Career Award in Tobacco Control and Smoking Cessation.